I've seen Joan's family in Kingston all my life, and I've seen her ride around town with a bicycle, and I never thought I would even ever get to even speak to her because she was so cute.
My memories, as far back as I can remember about Eddie, in 8th grade, I do not remember Eddie. We were in homeroom together. So our class picture, some of the boys are on the bottom row sitting Indian style. And so the second row, girls, and I am sitting right behind Eddie in our 8th grade class picture. My first recollection really was there in high school, noticing him in the hall. And just kind of waving at him.
One time, I was working at the white store as a bag boy, and I was taking this lady's groceries home, and my cousin Janie come out and said, this girl wants to ask you to go to a hayride with her. And so, sure enough, their trailer right there close to ours, where I was taking them, and she come out and said, we're having a hayride at Cedar Grove Baptist Church. Said, would you mind going with me Friday night? And I said, yeah. I was tickled to death. I couldn't believe it. So, but that Saturday night, I got off early, and so I went home, and Mom said, Joan Abbott called and said the hayride was canceled. I went upstairs, got cleaned up, and went on out there anyway, I thought, and she wasn't even ready, so.
I always get on to Eddie when he tells this to others. I say, people don't need to know everything. But I had noticed Eddie in high school in the hall. He'd be leaning against his locker, and I'd walk by, and I'd kind of wave. And so I went to Cedar Grove Baptist Church, and they were having a hayride. And so I asked Eddie to go to the hayrides. So the hayride got canceled. And I called his mother, and I said, well, identified who I was and said, the hayride that Eddie and I were going to go to has been canceled, and I just wanted him to know. So I go about my normal evening at home with Mom and my little sister, and there's a knock on the door. And I have my hair in rollers, and so I open the door, and guess who it is? Eddie. So he comes on in, and my sister Judy and her family live real close, and they come over, and we said, we were going to a hayride, a church hayride, but it got canceled. So Judy up and says, well, why don't you, he didn't have a car. Eddie didn't have a car. He walked to my house. We both lived on 3rd Street. So my sister Judy said, well, why don't you just go somewhere? You can go to the movies with our car. It was a little Corvair, little white Corvair. So that's what we did. My mama let me go to the drive-in movies with Eddie, and we saw Elvis Presley and Roustabout. And I kept my pocketbook right between us in the front seat. So that's our first date.
Our first kiss. Wow. I was still nervous. That was the first time we went to the drive-in movie and seen Elvis and Roustabout. And I was sitting on my side of the car, and Joan was sitting on hers, and this pocketbook between us. And so finally, she reached up and set the pocketbook in the floorboard. And I scooted over and put my arm around her. And that was our first kiss. I still remember, just like it happened today. Because every time I kiss her now, it's almost like our first kiss. So I can remember we went down and bought our wedding rings at Robinson Jewelry. And all 3 rings was $125. And I paid $5 a week on them, or maybe a little bit more than that, till I got them paid for. And then after I got them paid for, I put them in the cedar chest and kept them there. And then one night I put them in my pocket, and I made my mind up I was going to see if she would marry me. And we lived she lived in a trailer out there at Stevens. We've been to a movie, and so we were sitting there in front of her trailer, and she was getting ready to get out of the car, and I said, Joan, I said, would you marry me? And I had the ring and gave it to her, and as soon as I gave her the ring, I still don't remember what she said, but she was trying to get out of that car to go in and tell her mom and dad, her mom and sister, and show them the ring. She was so excited. And when I told Mother I was getting married, she said, won't you wait till you get a better job? I said, Mother, I don't know if I ever get a better job, but I know I love Joan, and I don't want to take a chance of losing her. And my daddy was always a real quiet person. And so when I was getting married, the day before I got married, I was up in our bedroom getting ready. And Daddy came upstairs and he said, can I talk to you a few minutes? And I said, yeah. And Daddy never did sit down and really talk to us. And he says, is there anything I can do to help you, or anything that you want to talk to me about, or anything you want to ask me? And I said, I don't think so, Dad.
Thinking about preparations for the wedding, I remember my mother, she never had a driver's license. She never drove, so I don't remember that distinctly, but I assume one of my older sisters, probably Judy, because she lived in Kingston, and my sister Jane lived in Mobile, Alabama. We drove to Knoxville, to Miller's in Knoxville, and we picked out a simple street length wedding dress and a little veil, and the dress was $30, and to me that was so much. And I still have them both, of course. And then I had white satin shoes. I guess most people, that's how they dressed back in the 60s for the weddings, unless it was a really elaborate wedding. Ours was very simple. So the night before the wedding, I remember singing in the shower. I'm a single girl. But anyway, it was so, Mom was so good to me. My youngest sister, Fanya, she was so special. And Eddie's mother, she was just wonderful too. Marie, we cherish her memory so much. But it was a special time. My memories of the wedding party, first of all, my father had died in 1965 when I had just turned 16. So therefore, I had no father to walk me down the aisle. So my favorite uncle of all, Uncle Carl Jenkins, walked me down the aisle. And I'll never forget that. It was so special to me. we had, of course, my maid of honor was my double first cousin, Shirley Jenkins. Our best man was Eddie's brother, Freddie. And that was basically the wedding party, except for our ushers. We had George Brummett and we had Mike Carroll. The day that Eddie and I got married, it was a beautiful December day, and all our family were in town. The preacher, when we met with the preacher, Ray Maddox, Reverend Ray Maddox, he suggested that we have our wedding right after Sunday morning service. The flowers would already be there. Our budget was very tight. And so it worked out really good.
December the 3rd, 1967, it was on a Sunday, and we got married after a church service at Cedar Grove Baptist Church. I got up real early one morning on Sunday and got dressed, and we had to be at the church, right after church, and the church just finished up a revival, so there's a lot of people there at the church. I was real nervous, and I had a fever blister. I was so upset and so the preacher, Ray Max, before he married us, we went and talked to him, and he told us, he said, he talked to me and Joan, told us about the wedding, how it was going to do. He said, well, let's get married after church on Sunday. We got the flowers there, we've got people there, and I'll take care of everything else for y'all. Because when I got married, I had $68 to my name. And so he told me, he said, Ray, when he was getting ready to marry us that week before, he said, I don't charge y'all for marrying y'all, but you got to make me one promise, that you will all never go to sleep mad. That's hard to do. And I went to Ray's 70th birthday party, and I told him, I said, Ray, I'd like to drove to Chattanooga plenty of time and give you $100 so I could go to sleep. Because all marriages are not perfect, but all marriages, you have to learn to live and forgive each other, and no one is perfect, and I am not perfect. But on my wedding day, we was at the church, and so I can remember walking down the aisle, walking down the church there, and turning around watching Joan walk down the aisle, see the most beautiful woman I've ever seen walking down that aisle. And so when the preacher come out, and her uncle give her away, and when he come out, he started talking about the ceremony, vows he was reading to us, and every time he'd pause, I would say, I do, I do, I do. I didn't know I was just supposed to say I do one time, but I just said it over and over again. And he thought that was very unusual. He talked to us, told me something later. I didn't know I was doing that. I was so nervous. And so we didn't have a reception. We just got married, left, in right after the thing. We had pictures made there. Bob Ivory made our pictures for us. And one of the pictures, we had a family picture made, and it was all my family. And Joan, after that picture, still have it. And Joan says, I can see who you love the most. And I said, who? She said, well, you was looking at your mom. And I was a mama's boy. And so, me and Joan, we got in the car, and they threw rice on us and everything. We left after church, and we didn't know where we was going even on our honeymoon.
We had just a simple wedding. We left in the little 61 Comet Ford. They had written on there, just married, watch Tennessee grow. and everybody started following us, and we headed to Chattanooga. It looked like we were going to Knoxville, but we took the Y and went toward Chattanooga. It was a very happy, special day. And I left in my wedding dress.
Was going up the interstate. And back then, I-75 was not finished to Chattanooga, but we was going up through there, and I said, everybody goes to Gatlinburg, let's go somewhere else. So I turned and went towards Chattanooga, and the interstate ended in Lenore City. So we went down Highway 11, went all the way to Chattanooga, and we got there, and so they had we drove around there, and so we, right at the foot of Lookout Mountain, there's a hotel called the Drake Motel.
Our honeymoon was real sweet. We drove to Chattanooga. We went to Ruby Falls the next morning. That night was my first night to stay in a motel. It was a Sunday night because we got married on a Sunday. And there was color TV in our room. And Bonanza was on. And I asked Eddie, I said, oh, Eddie, does it cost more to watch the color TV? And so we ate there at the hotel. It was called the Drake Motel. It was at the foot of Lookout Mountain. It no longer exists. And later in the evening, I told Eddie, I said, I'm thirsty. I'd love to have an RC. So our favorite little remembrances of our honeymoon are RCs and moon pies.
And Freddie, he was my best man at the wedding. And after Joan and I come back from our honeymoon, he come out the house one night, and he was come up there, and I was already home from work, and he said, "What do y'all do?" He said, "You ain't got no TV." And so I said, "We don't need TV. We can't afford one." Well, the next day, Freddie went to O'Brien's and bought us TV and bought it there and gave it to us. And so my whole family's just always been there for me on everything. Like I said, the first home we had was an apartment for $25 a month, and we lived there 1 month, and my mom died. And my dad asked us would we move back in with him, so because he worked swing shift, and he wants to be there with Kay and Faye. And the first meal Joan fixed us to eat, she fixed pork chops and some other things, and the pork chops were burned on the outside and raw in the middle. So, but I ate them and liked them.
Having children is such a joy. So I wanted a little Eddie. Had to be a little Eddie. So the Lord blessed us with Bradley. And then we waited to have a second child until we thought we could afford a second child. We thought, wow, Brad's going to be 5 years old. We better get him a little brother or a little sister. So we decided to and hoped for another child. And so there we had our second son, Adam. And before Adam, I thought, oh my goodness, Bradley is, oh my goodness, he is the sweetest, best child ever. How could we ever have another child as sweet as Bradley? And so the Lord blessed us, and I can truthfully say both our boys have been so wonderful and so good. They haven't given us any trouble at all.
I don't think it changed. It got better. when our first son was born, Brad, I can remember it real good, you know, and but I always try to put my kids first, and but when Brad was born, we waited almost 6 years to have another one. I kept trying to get a better job, never could get it, and so finally we said we can't, so let's just have another child. But when Adam came along, seemed like I worried a lot. You know, I didn't worry so much when Brad was born. I was so young, but the older you get, the more you worry. So, but when he came along, it just made our life complete. He said Brad and Adam both were so. God blessed me because He gave me kids that were great, and I mean, they got in little spats, no more than kids do, but they never, never caused me and Joan 1 minute of heartbreak. And but it just got better and better because they always seemed to add to my and Joan's life. And Joan always took, I was always the mean one in the family, and she was always the heart because sometimes I got a little mean with the kids, and she always took up for them, always. And so, but they had her wrapped around their finger, so they knew it. Grandkids. If I could have had grandkids first, I would never had kids. They are a blessing given directly from God. They bless my heart every day when I think about them. I think about them every day. I go over them and think of little things each one says, and I see their smiles. I can see each one of them smiling in a special way. And grandkids are something that's just love that keeps on giving.
How did life change with grandchildren? Oh my goodness, just marvelous, marvelous. The sweetest, sweetest you could ever imagine. We just love any minute that we can have with them. We love getting to be with them and know them and see them learn and see them experience God and church and so many activities and opportunities that as a little girl and a growing up young lady I never even dreamed. They have seen more of the world than I ever will. And their talents are just amazing. They're just learn so much. Their vocabulary is much better than mine, and always will be. But I guess all the ladies that are grandmothers, it's just indescribable how wonderful being a grandmother is.
What advice would I give my grandkids about love? I would tell them to read 1 Corinthians 13. Love is not envy, love is not boastful, love. I wish I knew all of it real good. But that first, I tell them to read that and read it, and reread, because sometimes you read something and you read it later and it means more to you. So that's what I would tell them about. But I would tell them to love is very important. And take time, be with your family, be with your loved ones. Take time for them. And I wish I'd practice what I preach a lot of times. And because I'm not a very good husband sometimes, and I'm kind of mean. So, but I would tell them to hold her hand.
What advice would I give my grandchildren about love? Well, I think of my two sons, Brad and Adam, and I think how I always prayed that they would marry the right young ladies. And both of those prayers were answered, and I tell you what, the right one is definitely worth waiting for. And so I want my grandchildren to know their priorities. First of all, love God with all their heart and look for the qualities in someone that they admire for a spouse. As far as for the granddaughters, look at their dad, and is that the kind of spouse they want, the kind of husband? For my grandchildren, look at their moms. Is that the kind of wife they would hope for? And pray for the right one to come into their life. So what I admire the most in Eddie, well, he's always been very sentimental, very romantic, a really sweet guy, and definitely a keeper.
What do I most admire Joan Abbey Parish? I admire her dedication to her family. I admire her dedication to me because she has been dedicated to me for 50 years now. And no matter how bad things get, she always finds the best in anything, in anybody. And she's a good, one thing, she's an excellent Christian, and she's an excellent mother. If anybody says anything, if I say anything about the boys or grandkids, she's ready to jump down my throat immediately. I just can't say enough nice things about Joan. I just can't say enough nice things about Joan. I just can't say enough nice things about Joan. She's always been with me on everything I've done. She supports me. I've done I've done some civic things. She supported me in that. She supported me in the church. Anytime when I was took a deacon's job, she supported me in that. And anything we go on mission trips, and she supports me in anything I do. What does love mean? Love means agape love is a love that don't hold no. When you do something wrong, forget, like God's love, forgive it and go forward. Love means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And Joan and I think we love each other unconditional. That's it, unconditional love.
So what does love really mean? That's a very interesting question with a lot of answers. For me, love is unconditional. Love is knowing that the other person loves you and feeling that love. And I know there's all kinds of love, agape, but anyway, for me, it's when you look at someone and you know that person loves you back. Oh my goodness, it is just incredible that I can sit here and say that Eddie and I have been married 50 years. Oh my goodness. Whatever. We just want to grow old together, laugh together, have fun together, go places. Really a time that everyone looks forward to, and I'm just so thankful that we've made it and that we are available to do the things we want to do. And I just thank the Lord and praise Him.
And I just hope Joan and I get over all our sickness, and God's blessed us over in sickness too, things we've gone through. But I'd love to do some fun things like travel. I like to go some places, and so we went on some bus trips. We had a ball. Sheila had a good time, and But main thing is the next is just spend time with our families. That's the main thing.